I thought I had found the love of my life, until one of her bridesmaids got drunk and told me the truth at my own engagement party. My name is Adam, 32M, and up until a few weeks ago, I thought I was engaged to the love of my life, Sarah, 29F. We were together for 5 years. We met at a corporate networking event in downtown Chicago. It wasn't anything romantic, just one of those after-hours mixers with bad wine and stilted conversations. I was there because my boss told me to shake hands and be seen. Sarah was there because one of her friends dragged her along for the free drinks. I didn't expect anything, but she caught my eye the second she walked in. Olive green dress, blunt-cut black hair, and that sort of quiet intensity that makes you stop mid-sentence. We started talking near the coat rack of all places. She was sarcastic, smart, and uninterested in small talk. I liked that. We exchanged numbers, and I texted her that same night. 3 days later, we had our first date. It snowballed from there. Sarah worked in digital marketing. I was in finance. We had our own lives, our own friends, but we gravitated toward each other quickly. She moved into my condo about 1.5 years into the relationship. We got a dog, Milo, a golden retriever who thinks he's human, and started splitting groceries and gym memberships. We weren't flashy, no grand gestures or Instagram-worthy vacations, just consistent, stable, comfortable. Looking back, I realized that's how people described us most often. You guys are so solid. I wore that like a badge of honor. I thought stability meant longevity. I thought predictability meant safety. I thought those things were the building blocks of love. We rarely argued. When we did, it was about logistical nonsense. Dishes, laundry, whether we should go to her parents for Christmas or mine. She wasn't overly affectionate, but I chalked it up to her being more introverted. She didn't like PDA, but she held my hand when we crossed the street. She never said I love you first, but she always said it back. And when I proposed, on a beach in Tulum at sunrise, she said yes with tears in her eyes. She looked me in the face and said, "Of course I'll marry you." There were no visible cracks, nothing I could point to and say, "This is when things shifted." I thought we were moving forward. We picked a fall wedding date, started browsing venues, talked about honeymoon ideas, Croatia, maybe Greece. She even joked about having 2 dogs after we got married. I thought I was building something with someone who wanted the same things I did. I thought she was saying yes to me. What I didn't know, what I couldn't have guessed, was that her yes wasn't about love. It was about safety. It was about comfort. It was about being with someone who could never hurt her the way the last man did. And the person who told me that wasn't her. It was one of her bridesmaids. At our own engagement party. The first signs weren't obvious. They never are. It's only in hindsight that you start stitching them together. Tiny, offhand comments, a look that lingers too long, the way someone hesitates before answering a simple question. In the weeks leading up to our engagement party, I was more involved in the planning than Sarah. That's not a complaint. I like taking the lead. But there were moments where her enthusiasm felt thin, like she was playing a part she hadn't fully committed to. She'd smile at floral arrangements, nod at table designs, but her input was always minimal, as if she were showing up out of obligation, not excitement. I remember one day while we were finalizing the guest list, I asked jokingly, "Do you think we'll still like each other in 30 years? She laughed. But it wasn't a real laugh. It was the kind of laugh you give when someone asks a question you don't want to answer. "I hope so," she said without looking up from her laptop. I didn't push. I should have. The engagement party was supposed to be a celebration. Our families, friends, co-workers, everyone gathered on a rooftop bar Sarah had picked. String lights overhead, champagne flowing, music soft enough to allow conversation. She looked stunning that night, hair pinned up, soft gold dress, red lipstick. She smiled for every photo, clinked glasses with relatives, kissed my cheek like clockwork. And then came Jenna. Jenna was her co-worker turned bridesmaid. I never knew much about her, only that they'd become close over the past year. She was quieter than the others, observant, the kind of person who never spoke unless she meant it. It was late. The party had thinned out. I was standing near the balcony watching the city lights blur through my half-empty whiskey glass when Jenna came up beside me. She was tipsy, not sloppy, just loose enough to speak without a filter. "Nice view," she said, motioning to the skyline. "Yeah," I replied. "Not bad for a Wednesday." She looked at me for a beat, then said, "You're a good guy, Adam." "Thanks. You're solid, reliable, The kind of man anyone would be lucky to end up with. I smiled, a little confused. Appreciate it. Then she added, "She picked you because of that." I raised an eyebrow. Because of what? Because you're not Dan. The name hit like a cold slap. Dan was Sarah's ex, the one who cheated, the one who ghosted her and showed up a year later engaged to someone else. "I'm not following," I said. Jenna sighed, looked me square in the eye and said, "You're the safe choice, Adam. You were never the first choice." Before I could respond, she patted my shoulder, finished her drink, and disappeared into the crowd. And just like that, the entire party, the lights, the music, the laughter, felt staged, like I had stepped into a play, and everyone knew the ending but me. I didn't sleep that night. Jenna's words looped in my head like a cruel riddle. You were never the first choice. I didn't want to believe her. Maybe she was drunk. Maybe she misunderstood Sarah. Maybe it was just a slip of the tongue. But the way she said it, so calm, so certain, it felt like she wasn't speculating. She was confirming something she already knew. Sarah came home late the next morning, still glowing from all the praise she'd gotten at the party. I watched her pour herself coffee, humming while scrolling through her phone, completely unaware that something had shifted. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Not until I had more than just a drunken comment from someone I barely knew. So I waited, and I watched. Over the next few days I started seeing things through a different lens. Every time she smiled, I questioned whether it was real. Every time she touched my hand, I wondered if it was automatic. Every time she talked about the wedding, I listened more for what she didn't say than what she did. There was a kind of emotional distance I had never noticed before. But now, it was everywhere. She checked out during conversations. She redirected any talk about the honeymoon. When I asked if she was okay, she just said, "Yeah, just a little overwhelmed." I knew I couldn't go to her directly with what Jenna said. She'd deny it. She'd deflect. I'd come out looking paranoid, or worse, controlling. So I went looking for answers. One afternoon while Sarah was out with her mom looking at bridal shoes, I remembered her old iPad. She hadn't used it in ages, but I'd helped her set it up when we moved in. If her messages were still synced, I might find something that told me the truth. It was in a drawer under some scarves. The battery was low, but it powered on. I opened the Messages app. My hands were shaking, but I kept going. I scrolled through a group chat labeled Bride Squad. The conversation was dated almost a year ago, right after we got engaged, and what I read drained every ounce of warmth from my body. Sarah: "He's not like Dan. He's calm. He won't leave." Natalie: "But do you love him?" Sarah: "I don't know. I love who I am when I'm with him." That's something, right? Jenna: "It's not everything." Paige: "You're not answering the question." Sarah: "He's the first person I don't have to worry about. I need that. Even if it's not fireworks." I stopped reading. I wasn't her person. I was her safe harbor. And I didn't want to spend the rest of my life wondering if she ever looked at me and wished I was someone else. I didn't say anything. Right away. I needed to process it, really sit with it. The group chat wasn't damning in the traditional sense. She hadn't said she hated me. She hadn't admitted to cheating. But somehow, it felt worse. It felt like I had just read her internal monologue, the part of her she never intended to show me. The raw, unfiltered truth behind every "I love you" she'd ever returned. A few nights later, I told her we needed to talk. Just those words. Her face changed instantly, like she already knew. We sat across from each other at the dining table. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse her. I just told her what I saw. "I read your messages with your bridesmaids," I said. She froze. Then she said nothing. Not right away. Her eyes flickered like she was trying to calculate how much I'd seen. Finally: "That was a long time ago, Adam." "I know. But it doesn't sound like someone who was in love with me. It sounds like someone trying to convince herself she could be." She looked down at her hands. I was scared. Dan broke something in me. You were the first person who made me feel safe again. That's not love, Sarah. It was what I needed at the time. But what about now? Do you even want to marry me, or are you still just convincing yourself I'm enough? She opened her mouth, closed it again, then whispered, "I don't know." And there it was. The worst answer. Not a no. Not a yes. Just, I don't know. We called off the wedding that week. It wasn't a dramatic, screaming match kind of ending. It was almost eerily quiet. Her parents were confused. Mine were heartbroken. Friends texted, called, left voicemails asking what happened. I didn't. Respond to most of them. I told people the truth, eventually. Not every detail. Just that we realized we wanted different things. Jenna texted me 2 days after the cancellation. All it said was, "I'm sorry. You deserve to know." She was right. Sarah moved out by the end of the month, took her stuff, left, her key, and said goodbye like we were strangers parting ways after a failed Airbnb stay. There were no tears, no promises to stay in touch, just a quiet, mutual acknowledgement that we had built something hollow and called it home. What haunted me most wasn't what she said in those texts. It was what she never said to me in person. She never fought for us, never begged me to stay, never once said she loved me, because I don't think she ever did. It's been 6 months. I still live in the same condo. Milo still runs to the door when he hears keys jangling, expecting her to walk in. He doesn't understand the difference between gone for the day and gone for good. Sometimes I envy that. People keep asking if I'm dating again. I'm not. Not because I'm bitter or broken or licking my wounds. I just don't feel the need to fill the space she left behind. I don't miss her. At least not in the way I thought I would. What I miss is the idea of her. The version I built in my head. The version that looked me in the eye and said yes because she wanted me, not because she needed to recover from someone else. I've thought a lot about the concept of being the safe choice. That phrase doesn't mean what I used to think it did. It's not flattering. It's not comforting. It's a consolation prize wrapped in politeness. It's someone saying, "You're good enough to settle for, but not worth risking my heart on." That's not a foundation. That's a lifeboat. And I refuse to be anyone's lifeboat again. Some friends told me I should have given her a chance to explain more. That everyone has doubts. Everyone goes through phases of uncertainty. Maybe they're right. But here's what I know. If you're going to marry someone, and you still don't know if you love them, that's not a phase. That's the truth you're afraid to admit. I've seen other couples who fight like hell, who stumble, who make mistakes. But there's no doubt that they want each other. That wasn't us. We were polite. We were composed. And we were quietly, unknowingly incompatible. I don't hate Sarah. I don't even blame her. She did what a lot of people do. She confused comfort for commitment. She wanted to feel steady after a storm. And I happened to be standing on solid ground. But I'm not. Her healer. I was never supposed to be her halfway point. I deserve more than that. Now I spend my evenings differently. I read more. I've started running again. I deleted all the wedding spreadsheets, canceled the honeymoon reservations, and boxed up the framed engagement photos. I didn't throw them out. Not yet. Maybe one day. For now, I'm just learning. To live in the quiet truth that sometimes the people who say yes to you never meant to say forever. And the worst betrayal isn't cheating. It's choosing someone because they're less likely to hurt you, not because you can't. Imagine a life without them. That's not love. That's fear wearing a white dress.